because nobody is seeing.
Hi, this is John Eagle. Welcome to our inaugural broadcast of the iPad Program Leader Training. This is obviously a new format for us using the Google Hangout feature. And so we're very excited about being able to share with you using this format. I think it's a little bit more effective, and we're going to try to stay on point and move things along as quickly as possible. Just a couple of items so you're aware. There is a minute delay. So what I'm saying right now, I actually said a minute ago. And so just be aware of that. You can ask questions. I'm going to try to answer questions during the broadcast as they come in. You do that by hovering over on the left-hand side, and you'll see the Q&A icon, and you can click on that, and there'll be a place for you to answer questions. Okay, so one of the first question here, I'm going to actually answer a few questions while everybody's still coming on board. Are we on yet? Well, yes, hopefully everybody knows that we have in fact started. Another question's coming in. Since the students will be using their Apple IDs with these iPads, does this mean that there is no longer a need for setup such as we did last year? Actually, we are assigning Apple IDs on the back end, and it's totally hidden from the students. This is one of the things that Apple actually provided to us this year. We begged them to let us do that last year, but they would not do it, and I guess they came to their senses and realized what a horrible experience that was, trying to get parents and everybody to cooperate with us. So the bottom line is that we have some 10,000 Apple IDs that we are managing and assigning to students. And when you get an iPad, it's already been assigned to a particular student. It's configured for a particular student. And you will see that in your inventory of iPads when you get them and when you look at them. So there is no longer a need for setup like we did last year. And I'm going to go into this process in a little bit more detail. Another question is the parent orientation mandatory for the iPad to be distributed? Well, I guess the parent doesn't have to attend an orientation, but they do have to sign the agreement form. It's going to be up to your school how you get that done. But obviously, we would prefer that the parent come in and show you ID. Just having somebody sign a form, sight unseen, and you don't know who it is, or having somebody come in who doesn't have ID, you really don't know who you're dealing with a lot of times. And so we did not allow that last year. We would still be recommending that this year as well. Another question we got from Nicholas, I too am excited for AirServe. By the way, is this a video session? I'm not seeing anything. Hopefully, Nicholas, you're seeing everything now, and we're moving right along. Let's see, another question. See a blur screen. By the way, folks, if you're not on yet, there is a number you can call, 727-2009, if you're having problems. Obviously, if you can hear me, you could probably see my screen as well. If you can't see me, it's because I actually am sharing my screen. I would never think to actually have you look at my face during one of these. That would probably scare me away permanently. So anyway, let me just scroll through a couple of these other questions. It looks like a whole lot of hellos and tests and so forth. Here's one. If teachers want to use an app such as an exit ticket and the app is not free, how can the app be purchased? There's actually a process that Paul Lawrence and the Information Literacy Services Department is going to have set up for you guys. I think it's just going to be a form where you put in the app's name and information about how you want to use it. And they're going to vet all those. So any apps that don't come preloaded on the iPad can be vetted and then be made available through a kiosk. Now, if they're paid for apps, I can tell you up front, it's going to be much more difficult to do, only because obviously we can't afford to buy custom apps for everything under the sun. Let's see. So somebody also asks, can we get a list of the apps that will be preloaded? Yes, we'll make sure that that's made available to you as well. Paul Lawrence has that information. Georgie, you asked, on the school-based tablet agreement form, it states that iPads will not be taken home in point number 4. Is this correct? There's 2 agreement forms. One is the standard agreement form, and the other is the school-based. When we say school-based, we mean it's a form specifically for not taking home iPads. So that is the form you would use for a student whose parent says, I don't want my child being issued an iPad for take-home. So they presumably would check that out at the library or the main office or in their homeroom, however the school wants to set that up, and that's what that form is for. All right, I'm going to come back to the questions in a moment. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the website, and hopefully everybody can see my desktop. If you haven't, this is the virtual help desk. If you haven't been to the virtual help desk before, I would strongly urge you to become familiar with it, because it is in fact something that we use quite extensively to communicate information to everybody. And on the virtual help desk is a link for the one-to-one site. If you haven't been to the virtual help desk before and you're not sure how to get there, there is a link on the Hampton City Schools main page. So if I go to the main page and I click on the staff link in the middle of the screen here where I'm going around, I can find over here on the right-hand side, again, a link for the virtual help desk. So I'm going to click that and go into the virtual help desk, and then click the one-to-one for staff over on the left-hand side, and I am in. Okay. Some of you, if you're getting a message that the video is unavailable in restricted mode, please do not hesitate to call 727-2009 or try to refresh your screen. Somebody said that that worked for them. I also sent an email with the latest link. You know, this is new for everybody in Google. This is based on Google Hangouts, and you know, it has its moments for sure. Okay, I am at the one-to-one homepage, and you'll notice we've made a few design changes. We have the homepage. What's going to be on the homepage is always the most relevant information for that particular point in time. So right now we're talking about getting iPads distributed, and so all the information right here in the middle of the screen is the most important information going on right now. So you can check back here at the end of the year, for example, it'll be end of year collection practices, best practices. Also over on the left, you will see procedures for iPads. And I'm going to be going over each of these, and you're obviously welcome to peruse this and study it to your heart's content. And then the forms and templates, student credentials, we have a little thing on Air Server here, and end of year procedures for last year are archived there as well. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to determine when are you going to conduct your parent orientations and when are you going to do your iPad distributions. And the way you do that is really kind of by learning about all the processes that have to take place and then working your way backwards and setting your date. We do have a link to the form right here and right here where we're going to ask you, I'm going to go ahead and click on it so you can see what it looks like, where we're asking you to put in your school. I'll just pick Armstrong as an example, and then just key in the dates and times of your scheduled parent orientations. Most of the schools are going to have more than one, and so we want you to put that information in and provide that to us. And it's very important that we get that information early. If you say, oh, I'm going to have mine tomorrow, that's really not going to give me enough time to make sure that you have everything that you need. What's going to happen once we have those dates is we're going to make sure that you have the latest and greatest inventory of iPads for your students. As I said, we are pre-configuring all the devices this year, and so we did that back in July. Well, the enrollment data in July is going to be very different from what it is on September 8th, and so just picking 8th there, as I know it's near the first week of September, but just prior to your deployment date, we're going to try to do a reconciliation of our own. So we're going to identify any students that are in your group of iPads that don't belong because they have since withdrawn, or new students that were not in your enrollment in the first week of July that need to be added. So the point is we will have bins of iPads ready to go with the students identified. There's actually sort of like a business card inserted to the sleeve that shows who that iPad is assigned to, and they're sorted alphabetically. So first thing you want to do is organize your inventory of iPads. Most schools will probably do that by homeroom. So you're going to get a printout of all the students by homeroom, and then start to sort those iPads so that you can deliver them to the homerooms where they would actually be distributed. That's what most schools would do. You can do it differently if you'd like. If you'd like to, have everybody take turns coming to the library and you just find their iPad. because again, they're stored alphabetically, and give them to them that way. You can do it that way as well. I believe in the high schools, we also sorted them by grade. So it's grade and alpha. So those are the big things, is again, just making sure that you plan for your parent orientations and your actual distribution. And as I say here on number 3, use the latest enrollment report to reconcile what you have versus what you need. We're going to try to do that for you just prior to implementation, because we know that some of you already have some big changes, and to the extent that we can take care of that, the better. But no matter what, you're going to have 3 or 4 students who aren't in the list and don't have an iPad assigned to them. And in order to get an iPad this year, what you will do, you do not manage your inventory. You will submit a work order requesting an iPad, and you give us the student's name. We will configure it and deliver it, and then you can just give it to the student. There's no setup to go through. We do recommend that you use an iPad sign-out checklist when you do your distribution, and those are located on the Forms and Templates page. I will show you that in a couple of minutes. And again, I've been talking about the parent orientation. There is a sample iPad parent presentation in PowerPoint, courtesy Lindsay Middle School, also on the Forms and Templates page. All the artifacts that you need are going to be in the Forms and Templates page. Make sure that parents and students read and sign the iPad agreement form. I mentioned a moment ago, there's actually 2 different forms, but one is the regular form, and the other one is for those students whose parent does not want them to take the iPad home. We are going to have insurance and fees also is on the Forms and Templates page. Now, in regards to the agreements and forms, I will have those pre-printed for you. And again, for those of you who think you might be having your parent orientation very soon, like next week, I need to know that. Otherwise, I may not be able to have this printed for you in time. But we will process those and have those forms delivered based upon your enrollment numbers. Those are multi-part forms so that they sign. You can give them a copy. You keep a copy, both the insurance and the agreement forms. For the checklist, since some of you will likely want to customize that, we will not pre-print those. So you will need to print your own for each student. I know I'm going to have a lot of questions about insurance, but it says here at the front, the fee remains $40, and they can purchase the insurance at any time. But when they do purchase the insurance, you need to look at the iPad, because you have a situation where parents break the iPad, then want to buy the insurance so they don't have to pay the full fee. And of course, that's not allowed. We do ask that you be sure that students are not listed on the fees due from last year. You can use some discretion with that. Some of you might have a lot of students who, for example, did not turn in their chargers from previous years. We want to keep track of that because we don't want them to continually be losing chargers or cords and so forth. But the only ones I think where you really have an issue is where they didn't return an iPad. If they didn't return an iPad, then we ask that you try to get the retrieve before you issue them another one. And unless they have extenuating circumstances, we're going to have to deal with that. But the instructions for printing a list of the students who have fees due is, again, available under the fee section, which is, again, up here under the procedures for iPads. And we will get into each of those momentarily. And then number 7, for any students whom there is not an iPad assigned, please submit a work order. We mentioned that previously, again, during either the reconciliation process with your inventory or during the actual distribution. We know there's going to be some students. You're going to have iPads that are assigned students that are no longer at your school, that have withdrawn for whatever reason. There were no-shows. Those go back to us, and then you're going to have to order ones that were not enrolled when we did the initial provisioning for the iPads. Again, be sure to complete the sign-out checklist when the iPads are distributed, and then put all of that information in the student's respective cumulative folder. So the insurance form, the agreement form, the checklist. That way, when they transfer to another school, all of that will go with them. Okay, before I go to the procedures for iPads, I'm going to check over here on the questions pane. Let's see what we got. Okay, there's a question. The last time I was at my site, all the iPads were taken out of the storage room. Have they been redelivered? Nick, what you would want to do is contact Pat McFadden. Pat's going to help all of you coordinate So when you're ready, when you've selected your date, I'm going to share that information with her. But if you have questions about your inventory, where is it? Just reach out to Pat McFadden. Alexis asks, is there a pre-made PowerPoint keynote presentations for the parent orientations? I think I've already answered that. Again, it's on the forms and templates page. I'll go ahead and show you that real quick. I'm going to go over here to our one-to-one site, click here. These are all the shared documents. And unfortunately, the parent orientation is hidden because it's not a Word document or a PowerPoint. It's actually a Google presentation and it is up here. So if you click on this link, it will take you to the PowerPoint, or it's not PowerPoint, excuse me, the Google Slides presentation. This actually makes it easy to embed. If you want to embed your version of this into your school's website, you can do that. You can make a copy of this and make changes to it to your heart's content and customize it however you would like. That is where the template's at. Hope that is helpful. I'll go ahead and close that back out. All the other forms are either Word documents or this PDF at the bottom. Okay, next question. Have the secretaries been informed? No, they have not been informed. Janeth, if that's going to be, if you think that's going to be an issue, just shoot me an email offline, please. Next question from Juliet. Since we created a Google Doc at our school for damaged iPads, how do we get the same information for students who are transferring to another school? I'm going to go ahead and cover that right now. Again, this is under procedures for iPads, and I'm going to click on the fees page, because the fees page is probably the biggest page. Everything else is very short by comparison. And I'm just going to start with the general info, and we're going to end up with how to print an invoice for iPad fees. So parents may pay for and obtain insurance at any time, but must be before claim is made. We talked about that. When accepting payment for insurance, inspect the iPad to ensure there's no existing damage. We talked about that. Work with school bookkeeper or school finance officer to receipt insurance fee. So again, you're going to have to team with the folks that do that sort of thing in your school. Some schools actually have the iPLs doing that work, but we do recommend that you work with the bookkeeper. Checks should be made out to the school so that funds can be remitted to HCS or the Student Activity Fund. All receipts should be coordinated with the school's business office. The insurance fee is $40 per year. After marking period 3 begins, we prorate that to $20. We do ask you provide a copy of the insurance form to the parent. And again, the form is available on the forms and templates page. I do recommend that that you take some time to read that form thoroughly. It's not very detailed. It doesn't have a lot of fine print, but it has a lot of good information on there, and so you should be very familiar with what's on that form. Now, we're asking that these fees should be entered into PowerSchool. Uncollected fees for lost iPads, cables, or charges, or uncollected fees for repairs not covered under insurance when no insurance is purchased. So you do not need to enter fees in PowerSchool if the fee was collected at the time the fee was levied. In other words, you know, here's the broken iPad, I'm going to charge you, and they went ahead and paid for it. You only need to put fees in PowerSchool if it's something they haven't paid for, and we want to be able to keep track of that. This year, we're also going to offer what's called a damage fee waiver. And the way this works is we do have a lot of economically challenged families, and for those who can't afford insurance, if and when they damage an iPad, there's a form, and again, it's in the forms and templates section, where they can apply to have the fee waived. So it's going to be on a case-by-case basis per incident, and they would have to apply for that each time. When that form is filled out, basically a staff member is going to verify that they're eligible. They have to have a student that's eligible for the free and reduced lunch program in order for that fee to be waived. We also have a multi-student insurance discount this year, so families who have more than one student participating in the one-to-one program, and again, you can familiarize yourself with the terms of that agreement under the forms and templates page. Now, again, I'm not going to go over each one of these in detail, but there's how to record a new fee in PowerSchool, how to record a payment in PowerSchool, and sometimes this can be a little tricky. So you record a fee in PowerSchool, and then when you go back in, there's actually a link over on the right-hand side that says payment on that same transaction that you created here, and that's how you actually create a payment. And then how to undo a fee for a cord charger. It's actually the same as a payment. you want to click on that payment link. There was some confusion last year with how to apply credit, but it basically looks like a payment. If you did issue a fee by mistake, unfortunately, there's no way for you to delete a fee. Again, if you had a student who didn't return a cord or charger and you charged the fee and then they brought it back later, this would be the process for that. But if you put in a $22,000 fee by accident, you'd probably want us to delete that, and you can just email that again to SysHelp. We also talk about how to print an invoice for iPad fees. So you were asking about this. This will show all fees due, even from the previous school, okay? And this is for one invoice for a particular family, or student, I should say. Also, what if a parent won't or can't pay fees? Again, we do want to record fees in PowerSchool under the fees link, but and you can run reports to identify students who should not be issued a new iPad. We have that covered here as well. Again, they have the damage fee waiver, and that form is available under the Forms and Templates page available to them. How to get a list of students who owe fees from previous prior laws. That's actually Juliet's question, and here is the process for that. And you can do it yourself and see what you get. If anyone has a problem with that, feel free to contact me or SysHelp. You can also print an invoice for all students at one time if you wanted to do that. I think you're going to just want the list, so it's almost like a bad checklist. These are the list of students you don't want to issue iPads to. But again, I think most of you are probably only going to be concerned about where the fee is over $250, meaning that they did not return their iPad, and you should be able to see that quite plainly. Okay, I'm going to back over to the questions. Okay. So Christopher asked, what is the turnaround time for an app to be approved? Again, that's not going to be handled by me. It's going to be handled by Information Literacy Services. And I think it's going to depend. If the app is free, obviously, all they have to do is make sure it has, academic utility, and maybe do some other things to make sure that it's, doesn't take up 14 gig of space, that sort of thing. But it's going to depend. In that group, I guess we're just going to find out over time exactly how long that's going to take, but hopefully not too long. Let's see. So Alexis asks, do I see any problem with holding our parent orientation and distribution on the same dates? No, not at all, Alexis. A lot of schools did that as well. You have the parents come in, you do the slideshow, you answer questions, then you have some booths set up where they fill out their agreement forms and pay for insurance. And then you have the bins in the back, and you go grab theirs out of the bins and bring it to them, and you're done. I think that's a great plan too. So if that works for your school, I would say go for it. Okay, Rebecca asks, loving the parent presentation. Any chance there is a presentation made to present these changes to the staff at each school? I don't have that, Rebecca. That's a great idea, though. Let me think about that, see if we could customize something. Just so, I think it's a great idea to make sure all your teachers are also aware of these policies and procedures. Oh, and while I'm at it, let me go ahead. I'm going to flip over here back to the virtual help desk. Now, I showed you how there's a link for one-to-one for staff. There's also a link. This year, we have a site specifically for parents and students. So, the site was originally, if you go to the Hampton City Schools website, let's go to the home page. You have this link over here for the iPad program information, and then you have this, what they call an accordion style type of pages, and with various links and so forth. And it's very busy, and we didn't get a lot of traffic on there. This year, what's going to happen is when they click on the one-to-one or iPad program link, it's going to take them to this site. And so that's why we have this on the virtual help desk, so that it's easy for staff and teachers to get to it quickly as well. And so this site again, you'll notice it's very, very, very simple design. Parents have links to policy, insurance, safety, and some special offers. Students currently only have a link to the iPad Care video. We do have a series of FAQs, and there's going to be an Ask a Question. We don't have that link set up yet. But anyway, I encourage you to share this and explore this as well. Hopefully, all of the policies here match the policies that are on the one-to-one side. We do endeavor to make all of that as accurate as we can. Good question, Rebecca. We'll see what we can do on that. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. Regina had asked, are there funds available to parents who are unable to purchase insurance? Again, Regina, the way we're going to do that, if you look under the fees section, and there's a link to what if the parent won't or can't pay fees. And if you click on that, we say, well, number one, we don't want to issue iPads to students who completely, trashed, totaled an iPad and couldn't pay for it. You don't want to issue them another one for take home. They have to use some kind of check-in, check-out process. But if you have a parent who couldn't afford insurance, they don't get a waiver for the insurance fee, but they can apply for and get a damage fee waiver. So, insurance sort of says you're covered no matter what, but it doesn't work that way. The way this works is that if they have an unfortunate accident and the iPad is damaged and it's accidental, then they can apply for this damage fee waiver. And again, there's a link to the forms and templates page. I'll show you a quick look at that. It's the very first document. I'm actually going to click the download link. Check and see if that's working. There we go. Just waiting on Microsoft. And you can see it's pretty straightforward. They have to initial that say that they're enrolled in their the students enrolled in a free reduced lunch program. They're agreeing to have that verified and that they wish to have the damage fee waived. They put the school, the student's name, the parent's name, they sign it, and then the office will verify that they in fact are in the free and reduced program, and then we can go ahead and waive that fee. Okay, and we do that on an incident by incident basis. Let's see here. This is a good question from Melissa. She wants to know, when will AirServer be loaded on all the teacher iPads? Melissa, I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. I need to check with Information Literacy Services. I know that you're not allowed, everybody wants to be able to do that, and I'll see if we can't have something done about that. I guess a follow-up questions, well, okay, you say on teacher iPads. Okay, so we'll follow up on that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and flop back over now to the site again. We're almost done here, folks. That's the good news. It's nowhere near as complicated as it was in previous years. You don't have to deal with DEP or parent emails or any of that stuff. So hopefully you're very happy about that. I'm going to show you, here's a process for a new student. So you're enrolling a new student. You have them and the parent read and review the one-to-one policies. And again, I have a link that goes here, but that link's going to change once we have the new parent site live. And then have the student and parent sign a copy of the iPad agreement form, and then ask them if they want insurance, and if so, again, charge them the fee. It's either 40 or 20, depending on what time of year it is. Make sure the student is enrolled in Power School before continuing the next step, okay? Because then what you're going to do is you're going to submit a work order through School Dude for a new iPad, and you just put the student's name in there and say, I need a new iPad for this student with this name. And then our IT folks are going to process that and deliver the iPad fully configured and ready to go for that student with all the core apps already downloaded, okay? So then you make sure all those agreements are signed, put them in a cubic folder. Done. So again, all that Apple ID stuff gone. Very, very simple. On to the next thing, the tech support for iPads. Again, there's not a whole lot here because it's very simple, but if the device is working, but experience technical problems, we ask that you just hold the device in a secure place and submit a work order. We'll have a tech swing by and take a look at it. If it does need to be returned to the repair shop, then we're going to have to actually do something a little different. You're going to have to order those. So if the device, if the device is inoperable through no fault of the student, then you can skip all this other stuff. But we know that sometimes the student, maybe they're returning a cord that is obviously cut in half with a pair of scissors. Well, they should pay for that. So we say here, if the device is broken due to abuse or liquid spill, parent must pay the replacement fee of $379, and we do depreciate that. I have the formula here. I know some of you didn't want to share that with parents on the insurance form. I can't recall if that is actually on the insurance form still, but this is the actual formula that you're supposed to use to determine the fee. And oh, by the way, since we're here, I'm going to go back up to the home screen. We're going to keep on here the age of the iPad chart. So if they have an iPad 2, it's 2 years old. If it's an iPad 4, it's 1 year old. If it's an iPad Air, it's brand new. So you can use that to determine the age of the iPad, just determine what model you have. So that should make things a little easier. Moving back to the tech support page. Make sure the insurance fees have been collected. If they are making an insurance claim, and you can actually get the insurance form out and write the claim on the form. They cannot make unlimited claims this year. They only get 3 claims, and after the first claim, there's a deductible. Again, all that is explained on the form. In fact, we're going to go ahead and look at that right now. So I'm going to switch over to forms and templates. And I'm going, I had some schools that say, I want the insurance form on legal size, others that say I want it on letter size. I might end up taking a vote before I print all the multicolored copies for you all, because I don't know that I can do it by school by what you would desire, and maybe just whatever wins as a vote. But I did put 2 different versions here just to try to be helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and just click the link. Which is going to bring it up in my browser window. And so we see that what is covered and not covered. And we've been over a lot of this stuff. Some differences from last year is we are covering the charging cables and the charging brick. We know that they're going to fray the charging cables, and that they're going to break. As long as it doesn't look like they were really just over the top careless with the cables, we'll just go ahead and give them another one. And that really, quite frankly, is probably going to be true whether they have insurance or not. This is just too much time and effort for you guys to be worried about determining whether or not you should charge for a cable. Just give them another cable. We don't want to start any fires. It's better to be safe than sorry. I'm getting a really good deal on cables right now, so I wouldn't worry about that. On the other hand, if it's totally missing, they need to pay for that. Insurance does not cover anything missing. All right, they do need to be able to keep track of their stuff. So again, stolen or lost iPads, lost charging cables or charging bricks, so forth. And actually we cover this in the policy. I am going to go back to it in a second, but I'll mention it right now. Often we get asked, so if it gets stolen out of, somebody breaks into my house and steals the iPad, I have to pay for it. Your principal has discretion. They could say, no, we're not going to make you pay for it. That just adds insult to injury. You're already a victim of some thief. We're not going to heap that on you as well. However, if they say, well, I left it sitting on the bench, I went and played kickball, I came back and somebody had stolen it. Well, no, they lost it. They were being careless with it, negligent, and they should be responsible for it. So again, your principal has some discretion to determine whether or not they need to charge that fee. Again, we have the cost on here, the limits on coverage. Incidents, basically the first one's covered. The second one, there'll be deductible of $20. The third one, there'll be a deductible of $30. After that, insurance is no longer in effect. They cannot purchase insurance again for the remainder of the year. For items not covered, we actually do not have the depreciation scale. I think some of you had requested that we not put that on the insurance form. It's too much of a temptation to encourage parents to just want to keep the iPad and pay for it. More or less purchase it from us, and we really can't do legally. If they don't have insurance, the cost of repair screen is $75. We did change because we're getting such a great deal on the cables and charging bricks. We lowered the price of that, so it's half what it was previously. This next section about note any existing dents or scratches here, you don't have to use this if you don't want to, especially if they're signing agreement forms before you actually issue the iPads. Probably not practical, but you may have parents who are particular about these sorts of things, and so if they want to make sure that they're not going to be charged for significant scratches and dents, you can note those on here. However, I will say this: if the iPad has any kinds of noticeable scratches on the glass, it should probably be turned in for repair. We don't want deep scratches or dents in the body. So just keep that in mind. But things that are superficial, that if it were your device, you'd go, who cares? And it's in a case anyway. No one's ever going to notice that. We're not going to really care too much about that. But obviously, there's a place to put their name and demographic information, the signature date, payment, whether it's been paid or not, how it was paid, and then a place to basically record any claims that are made. Okay, so I am going back to tech support for iPads, and then I'll answer some more questions. So again, we stopped here after filing the insurance, or if it's not insured, make sure that if they don't pay those fees and they don't have insurance, that we record that in PowerSchool so we can keep track of it. And then submit a work order to request a replacement iPad or whatever the accessory is, if it's another cable, what have you, and then hold the device accessory in a secure place so we can swap those out. And we will do that as quickly as we can. And if we are delivering a new iPad accessory to the student, we do want to have them sign for it. And what we're suggesting is you just use the back of the original agreement form. If you have a better idea than that, certainly we would want to hear from you. We want to make this as easy and as efficient as possible. All right, going back to the questions. All right, we have a question here from Jeanette that says, looking at having HCS classrooms becoming Google-powered classrooms, should we be encouraging parents to create Gmail accounts? Is this a question for Paul? Well, parents don't need to create accounts for their students, but I don't think it's a bad idea to say to parents that you should create a Gmail account so you can check out everything that we're teaching your kid. Gmail accounts are free, and it includes all the same apps: Google Docs, calendaring, contacts, sheets, slides, all of that. One thing to note too is, although the free accounts only provide you, I think it's with 25 gig of storage space, because we're Google for Education customers, we have unlimited drive space. So it's pretty good deal. Okay. Regina asks, Lindsay will have free breakfast and lunch for the entire school. So does the form still need to be filled out for iPad damage? Yes, Regina, you do, because the parents, this is sort of a technique to just keep parents from thinking they have a free ride. They have to apply. There has to be a documented record of it. We don't want them to think they can just continually trash devices and they won't be held responsible for them. And certainly there's going to be limitations even on that. Parents can't assume that they can continue to break devices and that they're, again, can continue to check them out or lose them, what have you. Okay, Jeanette has a question that says, I have a parent who has informed us that she's traveling to Europe the second week of school. She's wanting to take the iPad with her. The child has a sibling at middle school as well. Thoughts? That's a decision for your principal. If you're pretty familiar with the family and you're pretty confident they're not gonna lose it and it's not gonna be an issue, I don't have a problem with that. It's sort of y'all's call, but again, I would just make sure you're not gonna have a situation where you're never going to see him again. If you're confident that that's not going to happen, then I would say I don't see a problem with that. Nick asks another question. Will apps be pushed to student devices during the school day? What should we do about homes without internet access? Yeah, apps are going to be, now keep in mind, all the core apps are already downloaded, so you won't have that pain this year to deal with, but you'll be able to download apps out of the kiosk. The way this is going to work is, again, the iPads are locked down this year. Students cannot download apps from the App Store. They do not get access to the App Store. So they're going to have a core set of apps already loaded, and I will get a list. I know you all are interested in seeing that list. And then there's another set of apps that have been pre-vetted that are maybe not appropriate for every single student. You know, maybe there's apps that are specific for 5th graders, and there's apps that are specific for 11th grade biology, whatever. So those are all going to be in a kiosk, in an icon on the iPad that when a teacher asks, you can say, I want you to go into the kiosk and download this app. That's how that will work. And so yes, that'll happen at school. So if a student doesn't have internet access at home, they want to make sure that they use that. As far as other uses at home, obviously we need to be very sensitive to creating assignments that require, homework assignments that require internet access. It will interest you to know that, again, Google does provide tools for providing online work. So if you're providing a writing homework assignment, they could still open their Google Drive and create a document, and then when they're at school, it'll actually sync it and load it up to their drive on Google. All right, so just a couple more things to cover over here on the missing, lost, or stolen. Again, anytime there's a device missing, stolen, or lost, we want you to report that. We have a forum this year that you click, and we're going to make sure that that gets forwarded to student services so that they can assist the police. We want to have the student or the school file a police report as soon as possible and assist the police in recovery. The iPads are registered with Apple via serial number. Find My iPad is not available this year, and that's because of the way Apple is managing this. There's no iCloud. There's no iCloud. Remember I told you the students don't have Apple IDs this year, so none of that is in play. But these iPads are registered with Apple via serial number, so if somebody were to do a factory reset, it's going to be very difficult for them to get past some of the screens that require Hampton credentials. So if the device is stolen through no fault of the student, skip to step 5, use discretion to make a determination. I talked about that a moment ago. So again, if the iPad was under lock and key and it truly wasn't their fault, by the way, if it was locked in the car sitting in the front seat, I have an issue with that. I always tell people, don't leave your laptops and iPads in your car. That's the place they get stolen out of 99 out of 100 times. We have the fee. Again, insurance doesn't cover it. And then again, you request a replacement by submitting a work order, same as always. Okay, you just put the student name in the work order, and then we will deliver that. And again, you want to have the student sign for it. The missing charger cable. Again, it doesn't cover missing chargers or cables, so there's the fees for those as well. Withdrawals and transfers. Again, you just collect it up like you would a textbook, and then submit a work order to have the device returned to IT. Just let us know, hey, you need to pick this up, and we'll come and get it. If they happen to show up at another school, or if you already know that they're going to show up at another school, it doesn't matter. We're going to either issue them the same iPad or another one, but since none of their information is going to be, most of it's going to be either in Google Drive, they're still not going to have access to the information. So, so we are not transferring iPads from school to school this year, or if we do, you won't have anything to do with it, so you do not need to worry about that. Last thing on here is the FAQs. The one we get is if parent or school does not want to issue an iPad for take-home. Again, if the parent insists and says, my child is not mature enough to deal with this, or I have an issue at home that makes them bringing the iPad home problematic, then you all need to set up some way for them to check it in and check it out. And again, this is where we were talking about under the forms and templates page. We have this, what we call the school-based tablet agreement form, which is different from the iPad agreement form. The iPad agreement form is just regular iPad agreement form. School-based means it never leaves the school. The iPad never leaves the school, okay? Under student credentials, we get asked this a lot. You need to know your students' usernames and passwords. All that information is located here. Admins can do it. Teachers can do it. Pretty much anybody can do it. We like the idea of the teachers actually printing credential letters. And there's a process for here. If you have the homeroom teachers do that, they give each of the students a letter that has the student's username and password. Make sure that the students know that their passwords are private. Make sure the students know they can't change their password. If they do need to change their password because they think their account's been hacked, then you all are going to need to notify us, and we will get that taken care of. Let me swap over here to questions again. We've only got about 10 more minutes left, so if you do have any questions, I'd go ahead and get them in now. Also, just a reminder that we are going to be providing this training probably at least once a week, if not more, from now until they're no longer needed. So it could go on for at least another month or so. Also, I invite any or all of you to call me, 727-2240. My email and phone number are on the virtual help desk under Contact Us. You will see it. We're located right here. I do not mind if you call me directly. Obviously, email me might be better just because we're also busy. I may not be in my office. But if you need additional questions or this training wasn't sufficient, I'd like to know that. Please just keep me posted on what you need. And again, the top two things you need to be working on right now is when are you going to conduct those parent orientations, and when are you going to distribute those iPads, and fill out that form and provide me those dates so I can make sure I have your inventory ready for you and we coordinate accordingly. All right, a couple more questions here. So if you have any questions, get them in. We're running out of time. Discipline. Do APS behavior specialists have authority to confiscate devices? How long? How about iPLs? I'm not sure about that. That's not really a technology question. I don't know how you all handle that with any other resource, like a book or anything else. I would actually talk to your principal about that, Nick. If you're not able to get clarity on that, then just shoot me an email, and I'll see if I can find out by checking with one of the executive directors. But just as again, everyone knows, the devices do not belong to the students; they belong to the school. So a regular teacher, certainly has every right to confiscate an iPad and then take it to the principal and report whatever, enter an infraction, and PowerSchool do whatever they need to do to deal with a problem. But I'm just not sure with APS and behavior specialists. I'm not sure where they fall in that chain. I would assume that they could do the same exact thing, but I would need to go back and check on that one. Next question is who is responsible to put fees in PowerSchool? The secretary. Well, different schools do that differently, and it's going to be up to your principal how that gets done. And some schools have a lot of those, and so you might want to make it a team effort. And some schools don't have very much of those at all, and so it's not a big deal. So it just really kind of depends upon your school's particular situation. But we can set it up for whoever the school wants to put those fees into PowerSchool. Will the interactive achievement app be added? Please say yes. I think that there is some problematic things with that. If you want to do that, if you want to use the iPads to do benchmark testing, do this. Contact the testing department first and coordinate with them. I think they would be thrilled to work with any of you that wants to take that step. All right, next question from Christopher is, I have missed this, but how will each student's iPad be identifiable? Will they need to have a picture ID in the front sleeve? What if the student has an uncased iPad? Will their information be on the back of the iPad? Okay, I'm going to grab an iPad cover, and you will have to look at me for a second here. This is what's going to look like when you all get them. All the iPads have covers, and they have a place for a business card. And the business card actually would have the student's name, the school, and their grade level, and their HCS username on the business card. And some of the iPads don't have a sleeve, in which case that business card would be taped on the inside. But I'm pretty sure at this point all of them do have that on there. And no iPad should be uncased at this point. We have new cases for those that got damaged last year, and we should be in good shape there. Okay. Let's see. Next question. Virginia asks, what? Well, I clicked your question and then it disappeared. Okay, I'm not seeing any other. Okay, here's a question. If parents have students in 5th and 6th grade, will there be a process to determine the initial $40 payment versus the second student discount of $20? Will there be a process to determine the initial payment? I'm not sure, Tracy, what your question is. I mean, again, the multi-student discount, if we go back to the one-to-one screen, under fees, in general information, we talk about the multi-student insurance discount, and the actual forms is under forms and templates. We bring that up. So basically, it's 40 for the first student, 20 for the second, and then 10 for any additional after that. And so they put their information, the student's name, school, and grade level, and then they say, hey, I'm certifying all this, and then we will need to go back and verify that. So probably your school secretary or somebody will say, yeah, that looks right. And if they don't have access to that information, we're going to have to maybe think that one through a little bit and determine whether or not those need to be turned in centrally or so forth. But even if we don't conduct the verifications, we do have the signed forms if we run into a problem downstream. Probably not the clearest answer that I would like to give, but again, we're still kind of working out some of the details on some of this. All right, let's see. Should parents? Let's see. Next question from Nancy. Should parents purchase insurance for school-based habits if they don't take home? Damage could still occur at school. That's a really good question, Nancy. I would encourage parents to always purchase insurance, either which way. But as a parent, I could also understand they may resist that and say that doesn't make any sense. Why should they pay for insurance for something that they say, I don't think my kid's mature enough to take home? So, we're going to have to kind of deal with that one as they come, so to speak. All right, let's see. Okay, and Sean asked, who takes care of orientation dates? Do I need to sit down with my principal? When do these orientations need to occur? When do all iPads need to be rolled out to all students? What happens to the students that don't have an iPad to use in class? All right, lots of good questions. So who takes care of orientation dates? Yeah, you want to sit down with your team, with your principal, with whoever is going to be involved in that process, and work that out and say, okay, how do we want to do this? Do we want to do orientations on Monday and Tuesday, the week of whatever, and then distribute the iPads later? Do we want to try to do that all in one night? Different schools do different things. I would ask around a little bit to see what you think might work best for you. So you do have some flexibility in how you do that. You can certainly give me a call and maybe ask what some of the other schools have done. Sean, I'm not sure what school you're at. So again, different schools, middle schools, PK8s, experience things a little differently than elementary schools. And so I will advise you the best we can on that. When do these orientations need to occur? Well, they need to occur before you distribute the iPads. and normally in concert with trying to get the parents to sign the agreement forms and fill out insurance forms as well. When do all iPads need to be rolled out to all students? Again, you need to work with your principal on that. I know some schools that say, I want my iPads distributed before the first day of school. Literally, they're going to distribute the iPads the week before school starts to all the kids. Now, obviously, some kids are on vacation or they're not available. So what happens to the students that don't have an iPad to use in class? Well, we need to do whatever we need to do to get those students their iPads as quickly as possible. We do have a situation where occasionally you just can't get a hold of the parent to sign the agreement form. We've actually had principals I know who've gone to parents' houses and knocked on the door with a form in their hand saying, man, can you please sign this for me? So whatever it takes, we want to try to get those distributed. But it's not that much different from a book. Of course, it's much more expensive than a book. But if a student doesn't have a book, sometimes they have to share. They have to look over the shoulder of somebody else. And of course, we can also do the check in and out program through maybe the main office of the library, or however your school tries to set that up. Follow-up question to that was, do we have a place to put suggestions, etc., for other schools? That's actually from Rebecca. Do we have a place to put suggestions, etc., for other schools? If I understand your comment, Rebecca, obviously, anytime you guys come up with something fantastic, send it to me, and I will endeavor to share it with everybody. We don't yet have like a Google group for the iPLs. If that's something you guys want me to create for you, I would be glad to do that. It'd be simple enough. I can share the spreadsheet of everyone's email addresses if you guys are comfortable with that. I've always been a strong believer that no one here is expert, and the more ideas, the better. So I'd be happy to share whatever anybody has to offer. Okay. This question disappeared on me earlier. Regina asked, sending question again, what do you think about etching a student's name and school year on the back of the iPad? That should be helpful for immediate identification in the classroom. Actually, Regina, that's really not a good idea. For one thing, the iPads can go from one student to another during the year, much less in between years. So it's not the same device that they're going to have for years to come. Also, we experimented quite a bit with etching, and as it turns out, it's not a very conducive way to identify the device, because it has to be taken out of the case, and even then, as a anti-theft maneuver, students will quickly figure out that you can actually just use a piece of sandpaper or a file to remove etching, unless it's done very deeply into the device. So unfortunately, no, but we'll give that some thought. I will tell you that we will see if we can't come up with, if you think that a student, for example, has swapped iPads, again, there's no way for a student this year to take another student's iPad and change the configuration settings so that it will work with them very easily. Another thing you may have noticed is that the agreement form no longer has a space for the barcode. Because we are configuring these for the students at the get-go, we have it. We have exactly the serial number being assigned to a student at any given time. And one of the things we're going to change in the end of year checklist process, we're going to give you all a method so that you'll be able to do that easily during the check-in process and ensure that the right device is being turned back in. I hope that's helpful, but actually that's a very good question. I'll give that some more thought about, in case you run into issues where iPads are being moved around. But the business cards are going to be in that slot on the front. So as long as the kids don't start getting crazy with that and goofy and swapping those out, we should be okay. Let's see, and the list of apps that would be preloaded, again, I'll get that for you guys. Okay, not seeing. See, I think I answered where the official IPL responsibilities. Again, it's your guys' responsibility to basically handle all the logistics of getting the forms, the insurance forms, and everything, the parent orientations, coordinating that, conducting those, actually distributing the devices. And all of you are getting stipends based upon the number of devices and number of IPLs that have been assigned at your school. Also, you're allowed to have a sub for a couple of days at the beginning and the end of the year for each grade level that has iPads at your school for the IPLs. So typically most schools have one IPL per grade level, not assigned a grade level per se, but that's the number that they have. So for an elementary school, you only have one IPL. But if you have two, that's fine too, but you only get a sub for one of those. But if you do your distribution in one day, then both could get a sub since you get 2 days worth. Let's see. Yeah, Rebecca said that when their kids got the individual iPads, they had the kids write their name and grade level on an index card, and then they took a picture of the card. Then they had that be the lock screen. That's a great idea. I really like that, Rebecca. I'm going to figure out a way to make that a best practice that we'll share with other folks. Anyway, folks, that's it for now. I appreciate your attention. Feel free to send me emails or give me a phone call. Hopefully this worked well. It's hard for me to know because I'm just talking to myself at a computer screen. But you all asked a lot of really good questions, so I think we're off to a good start, and hopefully the technology worked well. But I'd be very much interested in knowing from you guys, one way or the other, how it worked and how it looked to you all. Again, thank you, and we'll be in touch. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.